back to Storytime with YDRC. This episode, we're going to be continuing to read Warriors, The Forest of Secrets. Now, last time we left off right at the beginning of chapter 18, so that's what we're going to continue for this episode. So, let's get started. Chapter 18. The sun began to set for the third time since Fireheart had almost drowned. The young warrior was washing himself outside his den, scraping his tongue across his fur. He kept imagining that he could still taste the muddy water. As he twisted his head to wash his back, he heard the pad of approaching paws, and looked up to see Tiger Claw looming over him. "Blue Star wants you to go to the gathering," the deputy growled. "Meet her outside her den, and bring Sandstorm and Greystripe." He stalked away before Fireheart could reply. Fireheart got up and stretched. Glancing around, he spotted Greystripe and Sandstorm eating beside the patch of nettles, and hurried over to join them. "Blue Star has chosen us to go to the gathering," he announced. Sandstorm finished off her blackbird and swiped a pink tongue around her jaws. "But can we get to the gathering?" she meowed, sounding puzzled. "I thought the stream was impossible to cross." "Blue Star said StarClan would be angry if we didn't try," Fireheart mewed. "She wants to talk to us now. Maybe she has a plan." Greystripe spoke through a mouthful of wool. "I just hope she doesn't expect us to swim." In spite of his words, his eyes shone with excitement as he gulped the rest of the fresh kill and sprang to his paws. Fireheart knew he must be looking forward to a chance to see Silverstream, and wondered if they had managed to meet in the time since he and Greystripe had been caught crossing the river after their ill-fated hunting mission for River Clan. Fireheart thought of Silverstream's kits, and he wondered how Greystripe would be able to bear seeing them grow up in another clan. Would Silverstream ever be able to tell them that Greystripe, the ThunderClan warrior, was their father? Fireheart tried to put the questions out of his mind as he and his friends crossed the clearing to the high rock. Blue Star was sitting outside her den, with Whitestorm, Mousefur, and Willowpelt already by her side. A moment later, Tiger Claw and Greystripe joined them. "As you know, the moon is full tonight," Blue Star began when all the cats were gathered around her. "It will be hard to get to Four Trees, but StarClan would expect us to do all we can to find a dry route. So I have chosen warriors only. This will be no journey for elders or apprentices, or queens expecting kids. Darkstripe, you led a patrol to examine the stream this morning. Report what you found." "The water's going down," meowed Darkstripe, "but not fast enough. We patrolled as far as the Thunder Path, and there's nowhere a cat could cross without swimming." "The stream's narrower up there," mewed Willowpelt. "Could we jump across?" "Maybe if you grew wings," Darkstripe narrowed. "If all you've got is your paws." "But that has to be the best place to try," insisted Whitestorm. Blue Star nodded. "We'll start there," she decided. "Maybe StarClan will lead us to a safe place." She rose to her paws and led her cats quietly out of the camp. The sun had gone down, and twilight blurred the shapes of the forest. In the distance, an owl hooted, and Fireheart could hear the rustle of prey in the undergrowth. But the warriors were too intent on their journey to hunt. Blue Star took them straight through the trees to the place where the stream emerged from a hard stone tunnel underneath the Thunder Path. Their usual route to Four Trees didn't pass this close to the Thunder Path, and Fireheart wondered what his leader was planning to do. When they reached the tunnel, he saw that floodwater spread out on either side, reflecting pale light of the rising moon. Water covered the Thunder Path as well, and as the cats watched, they saw a monster pass by, moving slowly, throwing up a filthy wave from its round black paws. Once the monster had disappeared into the distance, Blue Star led her cats to the water's edge on the hard surface of the Thunder Path. She sniffed the water, wrinkling her nose at the stench, and cautiously put one paw into the flood. "It's shallow enough here," she meowed. "We can walk up the Thunder Path until we're on the other side of the stream, and get to Four Trees along the border with ShadowClan." Walk up the Thunder Path? Fireheart felt his coat begin to prickle with fear at the thought of deliberately following the tracks of the monsters. Cinderpaw's accident had shown him what they could do to a cat, and she had only been at the edge. What if a monster comes? Asked Graystripe, voicing Fireheart's fear. We will keep to the side, Bluestar replied calmly. You saw how slowly that monster was moving. Maybe they don't like getting their paws wet. Fireheart saw that Graystripe still looked doubtful. He shared his friend's worries, but there was no point in protesting anymore. Tigerclaw would just berate them for being cowards. Bluestar, wait, called Whitestorm as the clan leader waded into the water. Remember how low our territory is on the other side of the stream? I can't help thinking it will be flooded there, too. I don't think we will get to Four Trees without going onto Shadow Clan territory, which is higher. A cat close to Fireheart let out a faint hiss, and Fireheart felt another pang of fear. A band of warriors setting paw across the border of a clan with which they had recently battled? If a patrol caught them, they would think it was an invasion. Bluestar paused with water lapping over her paws, and looked back at Whitestorm. Maybe, she acknowledged, but we'll have to risk it, if it's the only way. She set off again without giving her cats any time to protest. There was nothing to do but follow. Fireheart splashed along the edge of the thunder path just behind Whitestorm. Tigerclaw brought up the rear to keep a lookout for the monsters coming up from behind. At first everything was quiet, except for a single monster traveling in the other direction on the opposite side of the thunder path. Then, Fireheart heard the familiar growling and the splash of an approaching monster. Look out! Tigerclaw yowled from the end of the line. Fireheart froze, pressing himself against the low wall that edged the thunder path as it crossed the stream. Darkstripe scrambled on top of it and crouched there, baring his teeth at the monster as it passed. For a moment, its strange glittering colors were reflected in the stinking water, and a wave washed out from it, soaking Fireheart as far as his belly fur. Then it was gone, and Fireheart could breathe again. As they reached the other side of the stream, Fireheart could see that Whitestorm was right. The low-lying land on the ThunderClan side was covered with water. There was nothing to do but continue along the edge of the thunder path until the land rose and was dry enough to walk on. Stepping thankfully off the paw-achingly hard thunder path, Fireheart raised his head and opened his jaws. A strong, rank stench filled his scent glands, the scent of Shadow Clan. They had followed the thunder path out of ThunderClan territory, and now a swath of Shadow Clan land lay between them and the gathering at Four Trees. We shouldn't be here, Willipelt murmured uneasily. If Bluestar heard the comment, she ignored it, quickening the pace until they were racing across the sodden turf. There were few trees here, and the close-cropped grass offered no cover for trespassing cats. Fireheart's heart was beating fast, not only from the speed of their journey. If Shadow Clan cats caught them, they would be in trouble, but Four Trees was not far away, and their luck might hold. Then he caught sight of a dark shadow streaking over the ground ahead of them, on a course to intercept Bluestar at the head of her patrol. More shadows followed, and a furious yowling split the quiet of the night. For a heartbeat, Bluestar quickened her pace, as if she thought she could outrun the challengers. Then she slowed to a stop. Her warriors did the same. Fireheart stood panting. The shadows drew closer. Halted by their leader, Nightstar. Oh, wait, no. The shadows drew closer, and he saw what they were, that they were Shadow Clan cats, headed by their leader, Nightstar. Bluestar, he spat as he halted in front of the ThunderClan leader. Why have you brought your cats into Shadow Clan land? In these floods, it was the only way to reach Four Trees, Bluestar replied, her voice low and steady. We mean no harm, Nightstar. You know there's a truce for the gathering. Nightstar hissed, his ears flattened against his head and his fur bristling. The truce holds at Four Trees, he snarled. There is no truce here. Instinctively, Fireheart dropped into a defensive crouch. The Shadow Clan cats, apprentices and elders as well as warriors, slipped silently into a semicircle around the smaller band from ThunderClan. Like Nightstar, their coats were bristling and their tails lashed in anger. Their hostile eyes reflected the cold light of the moon. Fireheart knew that if it came to a fight, ThunderClan was hopelessly outnumbered. Nightstar, I'm sorry, meowed Bluestar. We would never trespass on your territory without good reason. Please let us pass. Her words did nothing to appease the Shadow Clan cats. Cinderfur, the Shadow Clan deputy, moved up beside his leader, a dim shape in the moonlight. I think they're here to spy, he growled softly. Spy? Tigerclaw shouldered his way forward to stand next to Bluestar, his head thrust out towards Cinderfur until their noses were less than a mouse length apart. "What can we spy on here? We're nowhere near your camp." Cinderfur curled back his lip to reveal thorn-sharp teeth. "Give us the word, Nightstar, and we'll tear them apart." "You can try," growled Tigerclaw. For a few heartbeats, Nightstar was silent. Fireheart's muscles tensed. Beside him, Greystripe growled low in his throat. Mousefur bared her teeth at the nearest ShadowClan warrior, and Sandstorm's pale green eyes shone with readiness to fight. "Keep back," Nightstar grunted at last to his warriors. "We'll let them pass. I want ThunderClan cats at the gathering." Though his words were friendly, he hissed them through bared teeth. Suddenly suspicious, Fireheart whispered to Greystripe, "What does he mean by that?" Greystripe shrugged. "Dunno. We have seen nothing of ShadowClan since the flood started. Who knows what they're up to?" "We'll even give you an escort," Nightstar went on, narrowing his eyes, "just to make sure you get to Four Trees safely. We wouldn't want ThunderClan to be scared off by an angry mouse, would we?" A murmur of agreement rose from the ShadowClan warriors. They shifted so that they surrounded the ThunderClan cats on all sides. With a faint nod, Nightstar set off beside Bluestar. The other cats followed, the ShadowClan patrol matching ThunderClan step for step. ThunderClan headed for the gathering, completely encircled by their enemies. The moon was at its height as Fireheart and the other ThunderClan cats were herded into the hollow beneath the 4 oak trees. A fierce cold light poured down over the members of RiverClan and WindClan, who were already assembled. All of them turned to stare curiously at the group descending the slope. Fireheart knew that he and the rest of his clan must look like prisoners. He stalked along proudly, head and tail held high, defying any cat to say that they had been beaten. To his relief, the ShadowClan cats slipped away into the shadows as soon as they reached the hollow. Bluestar headed straight for the great rock with Tigerclaw at her side. Fireheart looked around for Greystripe and found that his friend had already disappeared. A moment later, he caught sight of him approaching Silverstream. But the Silver Tabby was surrounded by other RiverClan cats, and Greystripe could only hover nearby, looking frustrated. Fireheart suppressed a sigh. He knew how much Greystripe must be longing to see Silverstream again, especially now she was expecting kits. But there was a huge risk in meeting at a gathering, where any cat could catch them together. "What's up with you?" Mousefur made him jump. "You look as if you've got something on your mind." Fireheart stared at the brown warrior. I was just thinking about what Nightstar said," he improvised rapidly. "Why did he say he wants ThunderClan cats here?" "Well, I'm sure of one thing. He's not being very kind and helpful," Sandstorm mewed, coming up with Willowpelt beside her. She licked one paw and drew it over her ear. "We'll find out soon enough." "Trouble's coming," Willowpelt meowed over one shoulder as she went to join a group of WindClan queens. "I can feel it in my paws." Uneasier than ever, Fireheart padded back and forth under the trees, listening with one ear to the cats around him. Most of them were sharing harmless gossip, catching up on news from other clans, and he heard nothing about what ShadowClan was planning. He noticed, though, that all the ShadowClan cats he passed glared at him, still fiercely hostile. And he caught one or two of them glancing up at the great rock as if they were impatient for the meeting to start. At last, a yowling sound sounded from the top of the rock, and the murmuring from the cats below died away. Fireheart found a place at the edge of the hollow where he had a good view of the 4 clan leaders, their silhouettes black against the sky. Sandstorm settled herself beside him, crouching with her paws tucked under her chest. Now for it," she whispered expectantly. Nightstar stepped forward, stiff-legged, with barely suppressed fury. "Cats of all clans, listen to me," he demanded. "Listen and remember. Until last Greenleaf, Broken Star was leader of ShadowClan. He was..." Tall Star, the leader of WindClan, stepped forward to stand beside Nightstar. "Why do you speak that hated name?" he growled. His eyes flashed, and Fireheart knew he was remembering how Broken Star and his warriors had driven WindClan out of their territory. "Hated, yes, Nightstar agreed, and with good reason, which you know as well as any cat. Tallstar, he stole Kits from ThunderClan. He forced Kits from his own clan into battle too early, and they died. In the end, he was so bloodthirsty that we, his own clan, drove him out. And where is he now? Nightstar's voice rose to a shriek. Was he left to die in the forest, or scavenge a living among the two legs? No, because there are cats here tonight who have taken him in. They are traitors to the warrior code and to every other cat in the forest. Fireheart exchanged an uneasy glance with Sandstorm. He knew what was coming, and by the troubled look she gave him in return, so could she. ThunderClan! Nightstar yowled. ThunderClan is sheltering Broken Star! Chapter 19. Shocked and angry caterwauls rose up from the cats surrounding the great rock. Every muscle in Fireheart's body urged him to creep backward into the bushes and hide from their fury. It took all his strength to stay where he was. Sandstorm pressed against his side, shaken as he was, and he found her warmth comforting. On top of the great rock, Tallstar whipped around to face Bluestar. Is this true? He snarled. Bluestar did not reply to him at once. With great dignity, she stepped forward and faced Nightstar. The moonlight glowed on her fur, turning it to silver, so that Fireheart could almost believe that a warrior of StarClan had leaped down from Silverpelt to join them. She waited until the noise from below had died down. How do you know of this? She coolly asked Nightstar when she could make herself heard. Have you been spying on our camp? Spying? Nightstar spat the word out. There's no need to spy when your apprentices gossip so freely. My warriors heard this at the last gathering. Do you dare to stand here now and tell me they are wrong? As he spoke, Fireheart remembered seeing Swiftpaw with the ShadowClan apprentices at the end of the last gathering. No wonder the young cat had looked guilty, as if he had been telling his friends all about the ThunderClan's prisoner, so soon after Bluestar had ordered all her clan to keep quiet. Bluestar hesitated. Fireheart felt a pang of sympathy for her. Many of her own clan had been unhappy with her decision to shelter blind Brokentail. But how was she going to defend herself in front of the other clans? Tallstar crouched in front of her, his ears flattened. Is it true? He repeated. For a moment, Bluestar did not speak. Then she lifted her head defiantly. Yes, it is true, she meowed. Traitor! Spat Tallstar. You know what Broken Star did to us! Bluestar's tail tip twitched. Even from his place below the rock, Fireheart could see the strain in every muscle of her body, and knew she was struggling to keep calm. No cat dares to call me a traitor, she hissed. I dare, retorted Tallstar. You are nothing but a traitor to the warrior code, if you are willing to give shelter to that heap of foxstomp. All around the clearing, WindClan cats leaped to their paws, yowling in support of their leader. Traitor! Traitor! At the foot of the great rock, Tigerclaw and Deadfoot, the WindClan deputy, faced each other with their hackles raised, lips drawn back to show their sharp teeth, their noses no more than a mouse length apart. Fireheart sprang up too, his fighting instinct sending energy to his paws. He caught a glimpse of Willowpelt snarling at the WindClan queens with whom she had been sharing tongues with a few moments before. A couple of ShadowClan warriors paced threateningly toward Darkstrike, and Mousefur leaped to his side, ready to attack. Stop! Bluestar yowled from her place on the great rock. How can you break the truce like this? Would you risk the wrath of StarClan? As she spoke, the moonlight began to fade. Every cat in the clearing froze. Looking up, Fireheart saw a wisp of cloud passing over the face of the moon. He shivered. Was that a warning from StarClan, because the clan seemed about to break the sacred truce? Clouds had covered the moon once before, a sign of StarClan's anger that had brought the gathering to an end. As the cloud passed away, the moonlight strengthened again. The moment of crisis had passed. Most of the cats sat down, though they continued to glare at one another. Whitestorm pushed himself between Deadfoot and Tigerclaw, and started to mew urgently to the ThunderClan deputy's ear, On top of the great rock, Crooked Star stepped forward to stand beside Blue Star. He looked calm. Fireheart realized that all of the clans, of all the clans, River Clan had the least reason to hate Broken Tail. He had not crossed the river into their territory, or stolen their kits. Blue Star, he meowed, tell us why you have done this. Broken Tail is blind, Blue Star replied, her voice ringing out so that every cat in the clearing could hear her. He is an old, defeated cat. He is no danger, not anymore. Would you have him starve to death in the forest? Yes, Nightstar's voice rose, shrill and insistent. No death is too cruel for him. Flecks of foam spun from the Shadow Clan leader's lips. He thrust his head aggressively toward Tallstar and snarled. Will you forgive the cat who drove you out? For a moment, Fireheart wondered why Nightstar should be so frantic, so intent on whipping up Tallstar's hatred like this. He was clan leader now. What harm could a blind prisoner do to him? Tallstar flinched away from the Shadow Clan leader, clearly taken aback by his fury. You know how much this means to my clan, he meowed. We will never forgive Broken Star. Then I tell you, you're wrong, meowed Blue Star. The warrior code tells us to show compassion. Tallstar, don't you remember what ThunderClan did for you when you were defeated and driven out? We found you and brought you home, and later we fought beside you against River Clan. Have you forgotten what you owe us? Far from soothing Tallstar, Blue Star's words angered the Wind Clan leader more than ever. He stalked up to her, his fur bristling. Does ThunderClan claim to own us? He spat out. Is that why you brought us back? To bow your wishes and accept your decisions without question. Do you think Wind Clan has no honor? Blue Star bowed her head in the face of the Wind Clan leader's fury. Tallstar, she meowed. You're right that no clan can own another. That's not what I meant. But remember how you felt when you were weak, and try to show compassion now. If we drive Broken Tail out to die, we're no better than he is. Compassion? Spat Nightstar. Don't give us tales fit for kits, Blue Star. What compassion did Broken Star ever show? Yowls of agreement filled the air as he spoke. Nightstar added, You must drive him out now, Blue Star, or I'll want to know the reason why. Blue Star's eyes narrowed to glittering blue slits. Don't tell me how to run my clan. I'll tell you this, Nightstar growled. If ThunderClan keeps on sheltering Broken Star, you can expect trouble. Shadow Clan will see to that. And Wind Clan, snarled Tallstar. For a moment, Blue Star was silent. Fireheart knew she knew how dangerous it was to make enemies of two clans at once, especially when some of her own cats were unhappy with her decision to take care of Broken Tail. ThunderClan does not take orders from other clans, she meowed at last. We do what we think is right. Right? Nightstar jeered. To shelter that bloodthirsty... Enough! Blue Star interrupted. No more argument. There is other business to discuss at this gathering. Or have you forgotten? Nightstar and Tallstar exchanged a glance, and while they hesitated, Crooked Star stepped forward to report on the floods and damage done to the River Clan camp. They let him speak. Though Fireheart didn't think that many cats were listening, the hollow was buzzing with shocked speculation about Broken Tail. Sandstorm pressed closer to Fireheart and mewed in his ear. I knew there'd be trouble over Broken Tail as soon as Nightstar started to speak. I know, Fireheart replied, but Blue Star can't send him away now. It would look as if she were giving in. No cat would respect her after that, not from ThunderClan or any clan. Sandstorm gave a low purr of agreement. Fireheart tried to concentrate on the rest of the gathering, but it was difficult. He couldn't help being aware of the hostile glances on all sides from the cats of Wind Clan and Shadow Clan, and he wished the gathering were over. It seemed a long time before the moon began to sink, and the cats began to divide their patrols for the journey home. In silent accord, the ThunderClan warriors bounded up to the Blue Star as soon as she left the Great Rock and made a protective circle around her. Fireheart guessed they were all as uncertain as he was that the truce would hold. As the warriors formed up around Blue Star, Fireheart caught sight of One Whisker, slipping past on his way to join a group of Wind Clan cats. Their eyes met, and One Whisker paused. I'm sorry about this, Fireheart, he meowed softly. I haven't forgotten how you brought us home. Thanks, One Whisker, Fireheart replied. I wish... He broke off as Tiger Claw pushed his way into the circle of cats, glaring at them and baring his teeth at One Whisker, who backed away toward the Wind Clan cats. Fireheart braced himself for a rebuke, but the deputy stalked straight past him. I hope you're satisfied, Tiger Claw snarled at Blue Star as he took his place beside her. Now two clans are yowling for our blood. We should have thrown that piece of vermin long ago. Okay. Fireheart couldn't help feeling surprised by Tiger Claw's hostility toward the ThunderClan prisoner. Not long before, he had seen Tiger Claw sharing tongues with Broken Tail, as if the deputy were reconciled to the cat staying in the clan. But maybe it wasn't so surprising that he had been ruffled, as they all had been, by the clash with Wind Clan and Shadow Clan. Tiger Claw, this is no place to argue among ourselves, Blue Star told him quietly. When we get back to camp... And how do you intend to get back? It was Nightstar who interrupted, pushing his way past the ThunderClan warriors. Not the way you came, I hope. If you set one paw on Shadow Clan territory, we'll rip you to pieces. He turned and slipped away into the shadows without waiting for a reply. For a moment, Blue Star looked confused. There was no other way back to the ThunderClan camp, Fireheart knew, unless they tried to swim the stream. He shivered at the thought of the fierce current that had almost cost him his life. Would they have to stay at Fortress until the floodwater went down? Then he caught the scent of RiverClan, and turned to see Crooked Star approaching some of his warriors. I heard that, the pale tabby Tom addressed Blue Star. Nightstar is wrong. At a time like this, all cats should help one another. He glanced at Fireheart as he spoke, and Fireheart guessed he was remembering how Fireheart and Greystripe had helped RiverClan by sharing prey. But none of the ThunderClan cats here, except for Blue Star, knew anything about that, and Fireheart heard some uneasy murmurings from the warriors around him. I can offer you a way home, Crooked Star continued. To get here, we cross the river by the two-leg bridge. If you go that way, you can travel through our territory and cross back lower down. There's a dead tree caught up by the stepping stones. Before Blue Star could speak, Tiger Claw hissed. And why should we trust RiverClan? Crooked Star ignored him, his amber eyes on Blue Star as he waited for her response. She dipped her head respectfully. Thank you, Crooked Star. We accept your offer. The RiverClan leader nodded briefly and turned to escort her out of the clearing. There was still some muttering among the ThunderClan leaders as Blue Star led her warriors through the bushes and up the slope out of the hollow. Cats from Shadow Clan and Wind Clan hissed at them, even though RiverClan warriors flanked them protectively on both sides. Fireheart realized with a jolt that the divisions within the forest had shifted in the space of a single gathering. He was relieved when they had reached the top of the slope and left the hostile gathering behind them. He noticed Greystripe trying to edge his way closer to Silverstream, but another of the RiverClan queens was in his way, giving Silverstream a lick from time to time. Are you sure you're not tired? The queen fussed. It's a long journey when you're expecting kids. No, Green Flower, I'm fine, Silverstream replied patiently, casting a frustrated glance at Greystripe over her friend's head. Tiger Claw brought up the rear of the ThunderClan patrol, swinging his huge head aggressively from side to side as if he expected the RiverClan cats to attack at any moment. Blue Star, on the other hand, seemed to be quite at ease traveling with the other clan. Once they were away from Fortress, she let Crooked Star take the lead, while she dropped back to join Mistyfoot. I hear you have kids, she meowed, her voice level. Are they well? Mistyfoot looked slightly surprised to be addressed by the ThunderClan leader. Two of them were swept away in the river, she stammered. Fireheart and Greystripe saved them. I'm sorry. You must have been frightened for them, Blue Star murmured, her blue eyes soft with sympathy. I'm glad ThunderClan warriors were able to help. Did your kids recover? Yes, they're fine now, Blue Star. Mistyfoot still seemed bewildered at being questioned so closely by the ThunderClan leader. They're all fine. They'll be apprentices soon. and I'm sure they'll make fine warriors, Bluestar mewed warmly. Watching his leader and the River Clan queens walking step for step, Fireheart couldn't help thinking how their blue-gray fur shone almost identically in the moonlight. They had the same neat, compact bodies, and when they had to leap over a log that lay in their path, they both flexed their limbs with the same economical ripple of muscles. Stonefur, coming up behind, was a copy of his sister, with a silver sheen to his coat and an enviable deftness of movement. If cats from different clans could look so alike, Fireheart wondered, why couldn't they think alike, too? Why did there have to be so much quarreling between them? Uncomfortably, he remembered the antagonism showed toward his clan by Shadow Clan and Wind Clan, and their bitterness over Bluestar's defense of Broken Tail. As he padded toward the bridge, alert for the scent of two legs, Fireheart felt the cold winds of the war beginning to sweep over the forest. On the second dawn after the gathering, Fireheart woke in the warrior's den to find what Graystripe had already left. The hollow in the moss where his friend had been sleeping was quite cold. Gone to meet Silverstream, Fireheart thought with a sigh of resignation. He was hardly surprising, now that Graystripe knew she was going to have kits, but it meant that Fireheart would have to cover for his absence again. Yawning widely, Fireheart pushed his way through the outer branches of the bush, and shook moss from his coat while he looked around the clearing. The sun was beginning to edge its way over the bracken wall, casting long shadows over the bare ground. The sky was pure, cloudless, and blue. Birdsong all around held the promise of easy prey. "Hey, Brackenpaw," Fireheart called to the apprentice, who sat blinking at the entrance to his den. "Do you want to go hunting?" Brackenpaw leaped to his paws and raced across the clearing to Fireheart. "Now?" he asked, delight shining in his eyes. "Yes, now," meowed Fireheart, suddenly sharing the young cat's eagerness. "I could do with a nice fresh mouse, couldn't you?" Brackenpaw fell in behind him as they headed for the gorse tunnel. He hadn't even asked where Graystripe was, Fireheart realized. Graystripe had never taken his duties as a mentor seriously, he thought with a pang of worry. He might have been more interested in Silverstream right from the start. Meanwhile, Fireheart himself had more or less taken over Brackenpaw's training. He enjoyed it, and he liked the serious-minded Ginger Tom, but he was troubled that loyalty to the clan didn't mean more to Graystripe. He put these thoughts aside as he led Brackenpaw up the ravine, avoiding the muddy stream bed where the floodwater was drying up. It was hard to be sad or anxious on a bright, warm day like this. With the floods receding more and more every day, there was no longer any danger that ThunderClan would be driven out of their camp by rising water. At the top of the ravine, Fireheart paused. "Okay, Brackenpaw," he meowed, "have a good sniff. What can you smell?" Brackenpaw stood with his head erect, his eyes closed, and his jaws parted to drink in the breeze. Mouse," he mewed at last. "Rabbit and blackbird and some other bird I don't know." "That's woodpecker," Fireheart told him. "Anything else?" Brackenpaw concentrated, and his eyes snapped open in alarm. "Fox!" "Fresh?" The apprentice sniffed again and then relaxed, looking a bit ashamed of himself. "No, stale. 2 or 3 days old, I think." "Good, Brackenpaw. Now, you head that way, as far as the 2 old oaks, and I'll go this way." He watched Brackenpaw for a few moments as the apprentice moved slowly into the shadow of the trees, stopping every few paces to taste the air. A flutter of wings under a bush distracted Fireheart, turning his head as he saw a thrush, flapping to keep its balance as it tugged a worm out of the soil. Fireheart crouched and crept toward it paw by paw. The thrush pulled the worm free and started to tuck in. Fireheart bunched his muscles for the pounce. "Fireheart! Fireheart!" Brackenpaw's frantic meow split the silence. His paws clenched on dead leaves as he tore through the trees toward Fireheart. Though Fireheart hurled himself at the thrush, it had been given too much warning. It flew up to a low branch, squawking in panic, while Fireheart's paws thudded onto the empty ground. "What do you think you're doing?" Fireheart swung around angrily to face the apprentice. "I'd have caught that thrush, and now listen to it. Every bit of prey in the forest will—" "Fireheart!" Brackenpaw gasped out, skidding to a halt in front of him. They're coming! I could smell them! Then I saw them! Smell who? Who's coming? Brackenpaw's eyes were round with fear. Shadow Clan and Wind Clan! He meowed. They're coming to invade our camp! Alright, so that's where we're going to end off this episode of Warriors, the Forest of Secrets. Now, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe before we end this off so you don't miss the next episode. That's it. Bye!